There is something deeply broken happening inside of America right now. And I think this upcoming SpaceX IPO might end up being one of the clearest examples of it yet. Because at some point, we need to stop pretending that people like Elon Musk are just innovators operating inside the same economy as us. They're not. They're operating inside a completely different financial universe where losses get socialized, risk gets dumped onto ordinary people, hype replaces fundamentals, and the rules themselves get rewritten in real time to protect their billionaire wealth. And the deeper I look into this SpaceX IPO situation, the more disgusting it starts to feel, because this is not just, hey, do you personally want to buy SpaceX stock? No, this could directly affect millions of Americans who have retirement accounts tied to index funds and probably have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. And I think people need to understand just how manipulated this whole thing is starting to look, because apparently the valuation being floated around for SpaceX is 1.75 trillion. That would make it more valuable than some of the largest corporations on Earth, despite revenue numbers that do not remotely justify that kind of pricing. And again, before the Elon defenders lose their minds, yes, SpaceX is a real company. Yes, rockets are impressive. Yes, Starlink exists. That isn't the issue. The issue is whether billionaire hype and financial engineering are now so powerful that basic market reality no longer matters. Because let's look at the pattern. Twitter loses massive value after Musk buys it. And then suddenly it gets folded into XAI. XAI reportedly burns absurd amounts of money. But AI hype keeps valuations exploding upward anyways, even with that burn. Now, SpaceX enters the picture with one of the biggest IPOs in history, with all of these investors who have backed Musk's empire for years, potentially getting another giant opportunity to cash out. And somehow we're supposed to believe this is all organic market behavior. Come on. What makes this even worse is the index fund side of the story. So, because this is where ordinary people get trapped in the machine, right here. Most Americans are not stock traders. We're not hedge fund managers. We're not sitting around analyzing IPO filings. Retirement money usually sits in passive index funds because that's what we were told to do. That's what's safe. That's the responsible thing to do. And historically, it largely was. But now, these giant financial institutions and exchanges are increasingly turning passive investing into automatic fuel for billionaire wealth extraction, because index funds are forced buyers. That's the key right there. If a company gets added to a major index, funds tracking that index have to buy it regardless of whether the valuation is insane. And normally, there are waiting periods before newly public companies enter those indexes. Now, you might ask why. And that's because markets need time to figure out what a company is actually worth before retirement systems pile trillions of dollars into it. That's common sense. But apparently, NASDAQ recently chose to change the rules so massive IPOs can enter much faster. I want to say that again. So markets need time to figure out what a company is actually worth before putting retirement systems trillions of dollars behind it. Recently, NASDAQ changed the rules so massive IPOs can enter much faster. And once you understand how the mechanics of this work, the whole thing starts to look unbelievable. So SpaceX reportedly plans to release only a small percentage of shares publicly. That creates scarcity. Scarcity plus hype sends prices flying upwards. We've seen this. Then the index funds potentially get forced into buying after the stock already surged. Meanwhile, retirement money starts flooding into an already inflated stock because the rules say it has to. And who benefits from this? The early investor, the insiders, the billionaires, the people closest to the deal. Meanwhile, ordinary people become part of the exit liquidity. Again, that's what this country increasingly feels like right now, a giant machine designed to transfer wealth upward while everybody else gets told, trust the market. And honestly, I'm tired of this phrase because this is not the same natural free market anymore. It just isn't. This is billionaire capitalism. This is a financial system being redesigned around protecting elite wealth at all costs while ordinary people absorb the downside later on. And the craziest part is that most people will never even realize this is happening. They'll just open their retirement account one day after the hype cycle collapses and wonder, hey, where did my money go? All the while, the people who engineered the entire thing have already cashed out months earlier. That's the game. And what frustrates me the most is that every time somebody points this out, they immediately get accused of being anti-success or anti-innovation. And this just is not true. We want innovation. We want space exploration. I think scientific advancement is incredible, but there's a massive difference between supporting innovation and supporting financial systems that increasingly resemble legalized wealth extraction schemes for billionaires. Those are not the same things. And I think more Americans are starting to really realize that because people can feel the economy underneath them. It's becoming less real by the year. Housing feels impossible. Healthcare is crushing. Retirement feels unachievable. Wages barely have moved in the years, and yet somehow the richest people in human history keep getting even richer regardless of what their companies actually do through performance. That should concern everybody because eventually you reach a point where the economy stops functioning as a productive system. It starts to function primarily as a mechanism to preserve and expand elite wealth through endless valuation inflation. And honestly, I think we're already there. Continue to follow me. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.